Before I start, I'd just like to apologise for my voice. I've got a bad throat and I am fully aware that I sound like a pervert making an obscene phone call. Today is the first ever Disgruntled Danny restaurant review, and the restaurant in question is the Hampton Inn in Salisbury. And Salisbury, if you don't know, is a city that looks like what Americans think Britain looks like. It's beautiful, it's church steeples, green lawns, tea and scones, everything is lovely. Unlike a lot of the UK, which is a shithole full of illegal immigrants and smackheads. Anyway, we were stopping, that is my wife and I, and our friend Paul, were stopping at the Premier Inn because we're that flash. Not all in the same room, that would be weird. But we're staying at the Premier Inn, and the restaurant joined to it is the Hampton Inn. And we had a fun day out in Salisbury, and what we decided to do was book a table, then we'll go and see a film after we had a meal and had a few drinks. Perfect Saturday night. So we booked our table for 8 o'clock. And we got down to the restaurant at about 7:45, and I was going to say the maitre d', but the barmaid said there's a bit of a delay of about 45 minutes. And we thought it's odd that we've booked, but there's a delay. But anyway, we were there early, it will not cause a problem. So we got taken to our table, put our order in, and our drinks order, and our drinks came back, and they were wrong. And mistakes happen, I'm not a barman, I don't know what's involved in getting liquid into a vessel. But yeah, happened, no problem. So we put our order in, and it gets to 8:30 and nothing. Then it gets to 9:15 and still there's nothing. And then the three of us decide, well, we probably won't get to go to the cinema tonight, no problem, we'll have a nice meal here, have a few drinks in the bar, make a night of it, it'll be great. Then it gets to 9 o'clock. So we've booked the table for 8, it's now 9, we've heard nothing, no one's explained what's going on. At 9:15, I then leave the table to go and find the manager. And I urge people to do this. A lot of people, when they get frustrated, they become quite rude to the waiting staff. And waiters and waitresses, they're probably on minimum wage, it's not their fault. I urge you, find the manager, it is their responsibility. And I say that, and I work as a manager. So I go find the manager, and he comes out and apologised and said, oh yes, your food's now being plated up, it'll be straight to your table. So at 9:20, an hour and 20 after we booked our table, the meal comes out, or 3 meals come out. Now Paul, his meal is remarkably in that it is overcooked and stone cold. My wife's is so undercooked we could probably fucking revive it. And mine is really amazing because it's cold and burnt and not what I ordered. So I call over the waitress, and this waitress is an absolute saint because she's having to deal with complaints everywhere I can hear people in the restaurant. And I say, look, this is wrong, I'm going to want to speak to your manager after the meal. And she goes, oh, do you want me to take the food back to the kitchen? Like, no way, no fucking way is this food leaving the table. Once it goes through the kitchen door to the parallel fucking dimension where the kitchen is, we won't see it for another hour and a half. So we agree to just pick through, eat what is edible, and there isn't much of it. By which point my wife's had enough, so she goes off to the hotel, and Paul and I are left waiting for the manager. And waiting. And waiting. Oh, I should point out, Paul is a chef. So what he does is he goes through all the excuses he can think of the manager's going to come out with. And the manager comes over, but it's a different manager to the guy I spoke to earlier. And it's like the best fucking mind-reading show you've ever seen. Because everything Paul has said, this guy repeats pretty much verbatim. Like, better than Darren Brown. Amazing. And then he has one other thing, which he says the waitress, our waitress, who I won't name, but who was fantastic, she's quite upset because she's taking it personally. And I've made sure throughout the night, I have in no way blamed any of the waiting staff. I've said each time, I know it's not your fault. So I then go and find her and check she's okay, and she's fine. There's fucking nothing wrong with her at all. It's like the guy is trying to make me feel guilty for the complaints I'm making. Anyway, eventually at 10:30, 2.5 hours after we booked in for one fucking course, I go up to pay, and we agree we're not paying for the food, we'll pay for the drinks. And then I say to the guy, look, we're booked in for breakfast tomorrow. Is it worth us turning up? He goes, sir, tomorrow service will be as normal. And I thought that was a weird term because as far as I'm concerned, I've only been once. That is normal service for the Hampton Inn in Salisbury. And fuck me backwards, he was right, because the next day when we went down for breakfast at 9 o'clock, you know, a hotel breakfast, you get your plate, you pick up what you want. There was no food cooked, so half the fucking hotel is stood around waiting, and then when the food does come out, there weren't enough plates. Now, I'm not an expert in running a restaurant, but I'm fairly certain if you are serving food, you need food and something to fucking put it on. So again, breakfast at 9 o'clock, I end up getting my bacon and eggs at 10 past 10. And I could have let this go, just put it down to an accident or piss poor customer service, other than all the reviews I've read about the restaurant online, which seem to be quite similar. But I started this video apologising for my bad throat. And the reason I've got a bad throat is I spent most of last night and most of today throwing my guts up. Now, I'm not saying that there's any link whatsoever. It may just be that over the weekend I went to the worst restaurant I've ever been to, and today it appears I've got food poisoning.